A very good morning. Today is 1st September 2020. Today in this video we'll be having a discussion of the Hindu editorial page analysis and also some of the article discussions. The first article is regarding the Supreme Court contempt of criminal by Prashant Bhushan and what court had said, that is regarding the Prashant Bhushan thing. The second article is on GST. The third article is on environmental policy impact, and the final article is upon CISF personnel. They need to have basic knowledge on English too. Our President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, has passed away due to ill health and he is also tested COVID-19 positive. Before I begin, this is regarding the cartoon of the day. As we can see clearly that the Prashant Bhushan has given the fine of 1 rupee and or 3 months jail because of his tweets, what he was convicted by the Supreme Court of India regarding the tweets which says that against a criminal conspiracy. It is regarding the criminal court of contempt. So this is the cartoon of the day which clearly shows that he has exit then with a small marginal relief. Before I begin, I am Prashant. I welcome you all to YFC Study Karo. This is the first article which says that the PLA aggression blocked at Pangong Tso Lake. So I have also made a dedicated video on India and China border dispute at different areas of India and China land dispute. I will give it in the description or from the eye icon. Right now you can see it, which is displayed to the eye icon. You can see it from that link, the detailed analysis of India-China border dispute. So what had happened in the recent things, that there was an agreement between India and China regarding the disengagement issue, but yesterday the line of actual control, the demarcation line between India and China, they have encroached more from that line of actual control. The Chinese military have encroached more and said that there is some mobilization issues and also the stretches along the line of actual control, and PLA has hands amid mobilization. So PLA aggression has blocked at Pangong Tso. So this was an attempt to change the status quo at the south bank of the lake, says the army governor. So this is what happened between India and China controls that 1000 square kilometer in Ladakh and stretches along the line of actual control. So in an escalation of the ongoing standoff in the dispute between the Ladakh and Chinese troops carried out aggressive moves on the night of August 29 to change the status quo of the south bank at Pangong Tso, that those attempts were thwarted, as the army said. So this is regarding India and China border dispute. They have disengaged and crossed the line of actual control, and the China controls 1000 square kilometer in Ladakh. The next article is GDP has drastically fallen down to 23.9% in the first quarter. So this is the worst contraction since which was seen before from the decades. So it was already expected due to this COVID-19 pandemic. The economy has shrunken down, but the experts have analyzed and they have predicted that economy will fall down, but they didn't expect this much fall down, that is 23.9%. But RBI moves to ease this liquidity further, says it aims to foster orderly market and conduct a repo operations of around 1 lakh crore to help the bank cut costs. So the RBI announced a more measure to ease the liquidity pressure amid the rising yield of government securities and concerns of the higher government borrowing, and said that it would cut additionally and special open market operations as a part of its efforts to ensure the orderly market conditions and congenial financial conditions. The first article is regarding the Prashant Bhushan contempt case. This is from the editorial page. The quantum, not a solace. Solace means a comfort. A quantum means a power. So Supreme Court sentence on a Bhushan dismisses its stature, exposes intolerant side. So as we all know that Prashant Bhushan has been convicted due to his tweets, which says that it is against a criminal conspiracy, which is against the fundamental right, and also it is pointing out the judicial system. That's why he was convicted. But the penalty, what had the final verdict says that there is a penalty given to him, imposing a nominal fine of 1 rupee on advocate Prashant Bhushan for criminal contempt of court, and even the event of default, asking him to serve for a 3-month simple prison term and be debarred for 3 years from legal practice if he didn't pay a nominal fine of 1 rupee. The Supreme Court had barred its dark and intolerant side. So during the hearing on the sentence, it appeared that the bench had painted itself in the corner and was looking for the way out by seeking an apology so that the quietus could be given to the whole issue. But Bhushan was in no mood to oblige, placing his bona fides and conscience above the need to give a face-saving option to the court to close the case. So what Supreme Court had asked to give an apology letter, but Prashant Bhushan has refused, and he also said that it would affect his conscience if he give a bona fide of what you say is that to oblige the court, saying an apology for his tweets. So this is regarding the Prashant Bhushan contempt case, how the things have happened, and a nominal fee of 1 rupee for the criminal court of contempt is sentenced on Prashant Bhushan. The next article is an interesting article. GST reform needs a new grand bargain. We have already discussed in the previous days or the earlier days regarding the regarding the GST, how center and state government on the GST, that is cooperative federalism versus coercive federalism. We have also discussed regarding the act of God on GST. The same is the case here, but a few points to be discussed. The GST compensation issues strengthens the necessity for a new system between the sovereign and sub-sovereign entities. So states gave up their right to collect sales tax and sundry taxes, and the center gave up an excise and also service taxes. So the nationwide GST promised a frictional commerce across state borders, buoyant and leak-proof tax compliance, and removal of inefficiencies like a cascade of tax on tax. So in the earlier things, what had happened is that state has some tax, that is, and also central had other tax, and a commodity which is to be imported to from one state to other, so called center to state, they have to pay 2 taxes, that is tax on tax and also value added tax. But what center had done is that they have proposed a GST, that is a goods and service tax, in combination with the states and center. But the historic grand bargain was the result of painstaking consensus, which inter alia involved addressing the apprehensions of the state of the revenue loss due to GST. So what had happened is that they have agreed to pay the GST and also some of the norms. Whatever the loss incurred by the state will be shortfall. If there is any shortfall in tax revenues for the period of 5 years, the consent is secured by the promise for reimbursing the shortfall which was set by the central government. So this reimbursement was funded by a special cess called GST compensation cess. So this promised reimbursement was to fill a gap for an assured of 14% on an year tax growth for the 5 years. So, and this was a generous fault. Neither the national aggregate or nor any other major states had this record for the period of 5 years. So this is what the center has promised at the start or implementation of the GST. So using an equivalent force majeure clause in commercial contracts, the center is abdicating the responsibility of making up the shortfall in 14% growth in GST revenues to the state. So this is the onus is on the state. The onus means the burden now is on the state. So there are 5 major counts which are the wrong accounts. The first is that state do not have recourse to multiple options that center has, and such an issue of sovereign bond, that is in dollars or rupees, or a loan against the public sector units shares from Reserve Bank of India. Secondly, the center anyway command much lower rates of borrowing from the markets as compared to states. So this advantage does not have a state when it compared to state governments. The third, in terms of aggregate public sector borrowing, it does not matter for a debt markets nor the rating agencies whether it is a state or center that is increasing their indebtedness. Now, fourth thing is that the fighting this recession through increased fiscal stimulus is basically the job macroeconomic stabilization, which is the center's domain. So these are all things which the burden on the states, but they can even correct this, but central government do not have these burden, so they can do whatever they need, or they can reform the norms. Fifth is, the most importantly, breaking this important promise using the alibi of the COVID-19 pandemic and causes a serious dent in the trust built upon between center and state. So what center is saying that this 14% growth they don't want to give for the state, and in return they are saying it is a force majeure, which means that it is an act of God. So this debt should be laid upon the states itself. This is what regarding the states and center GST, which needs a grand bargain rather than forced measures. The next article is on environment and a national issue. So the environment protection through ideological or political lens will only spell its doom. So India has been ranked 177 out of 180 countries in the Environmental Performance Index report, that is EPI report. So besides, in June 2020 EPI, India's rank stands improved to 168 and not 177, which is 2018 rank. So the Environmental Performance Index has been developed by the US universities of Yale and Columbia in collaboration with the World Economic Forum and European Commission, and available rankings show that around 118 in 2006 and 123 in 2010 and 155 in 2014 and 177 in 2018, thereby giving a clear message that opposite to sought to conveyed regarding our standing in 177 in 2018. So the link between the great winter smog and pollution in North India and the present draft by EIA is not reasonable, since the winter pollution and population are also some of the factors which involve the environmental causes in North India, and did not begin since 2014, which after the Modi ji was elected. So we need to focus on deforestation and also some of the crucial dimensions and geographical locations, and we need to implement some of the measures like even odd vehicle system, and also some of the measures which could curtail and also bring some of the interesting things like implementation of electric vehicles, and also public transport system should be utilized fully, so that most of the things can be curtailed in the environmental things, and most of the politicians should focus on these aspects rather than some other things, not only the political importance rather than environmental protection, which is the ideological or a lens which only spell its doom. This is regarding the environmental as a national issue. The next article is regarding the interesting article. It is taking a leaf out of an Air Force. So we all know that PMK MP Khanimozhi, when she was traveling from the airlines, one of the Central Industrial Security Force officers, CISF officer, has asked her to speak her, if she is an Indian, to speak in Hindi. As she was conveying her message in English, she refused to speak in Hindi. So this she bring it into Twitter. So Mr. Khanimozhi wisely chose to walk away and took it to Twitter or to her any annoyance. So though the CISF ordered an inquiry into the incident, the matter invited much media attention, leading to the debates on television channels on Hindi imposition. So this incident impelled former Union Home Minister Chidambaram to tweet that he had also experienced similar taunts from the government officers and ordinary citizens, who insisted that he either to speak in Hindi during the telephone conversation or sometimes face to face. So now it is added that the central government employees must made to speak in both English and Hindi. There should be a language training to be these officers so that they should have a basic knowledge of English rather than Hindi, and also there should be smart enough courses to be involved in the training, and also so that they will not face any of these kind of issues anytime. This is next article, which is on Unlock 4. Unlocking the economy further calls for vigilance and stronger health surveillance. The Unlock 4 guidelines is for the Home Ministry, allowing all but a few activities that attract a large crowds, with supportive measures by the state reflect deep economic distress. The resumption of economic activity, including metro and other public transport services, will ease a pain for many and prevent further a precipitous decline in earnings and spending, but if it is not accompanied by rigorous infection control, a major public health penalty could be ahead. Successful unlocking requires enabling movement, including international travel, and also rigorous identification, testing, and inexpensive quarantine where it is needed. Students, meanwhile, continue to be despondent as there is no escape from the high tuition fees, while online teaching remains experimental. So worryingly, many lockdown-weary people have begun to disregard safety norms, abandoning masks and also distancing norms. The insights points the tedious nature of the unlocking programs, the need for constant vigil, constant check, and also irrationality of exuberance. So the pandemic cannot yet be viewed in the past tense, and there is a long wait for the possible vaccine. So this is regarding the right keys on Unlock 4, how the things should be done, and there should be proper vigil and also strong surveillance in the health sector. So that's the end of article discussion. If you are new to my channel, I request you all to subscribe so that you will not miss any further updates. Thank you. Have a great day.